How did the whole Barry Bonds thing happen? Like, how did you guys bring him back into baseball, and why did it only last a season?
Because I'm trying to think if I've ever had a worse hitting coach in my career than Barry Bonds. Hold on, I'm thinking. No.
Not even Tino Martinez? Considering
By the way, I love it. No, still Barry.
Wow, really?
So Barry,
Jesus.
Do you know why Magic Johnson was a bad coach?
Well, he didn't have patience for people who weren't him.
He didn't have patience for people who didn't see the court the way he saw it. Barry Bonds can't teach hitting because he just hits. You can't teach someone what Barry Bonds is able to do. Therefore, you're a bad hitting coach. That doesn't make him a bad guy or
Everyone's
a bad
a disappointment.
player. Because everyone stinks. He doesn't understand. You don't see the seams. That's a slider. He's throwing you a slider. And you've got Stanton saying, listen, it's 2 strikes. I'm bailing against a slider. I cannot lay off it. I can't lay off it, Barry. Barry says, don't swing at it. Right? That's how the conversation goes.
That was Barry as a coach, but it would appear to a lot of fans of Major League Baseball, considering his final season, that he was blackballed by baseball to a degree. Did the Marlins ever have conversations about bringing Barry Bonds as a player?
Never as a player. But no, Jeffrey very much wanted Barry Bonds to try to start his road back into baseball because Jeffrey was fond of him, and Barry got that opportunity.
Why didn't you give us A-Rod?
Well, the reason we didn't sign A-Rod is because there was no possible way that anyone could be worse for your team than A-Rod. And the juice wasn't worth the squeeze anymore because he wasn't a good player anymore. So we would have had the worst part. We would have had the circus without the parade.
How did you get involved, or did A-Rod? I'd heard that A-Rod and Jeter in the early stages were both a part of trying to get in on the team. How did you get them involved? Did they just
so I've known them both.
Reach out to you?
A-Rod wanted to be an owner, and I know that Jeter wanted to be an owner, and I love the fact they both wanted to be owners because they don't like each other. So I would say stuff to Jeter's camp like, hey, A-Rod's about to get this team. And I'd say to A-Rod, you know that Derek Jeter's about to own a team. You better up your bid by about $100 million, like in the next 5 minutes, or Jeter's going to get the team.
I love you sitting in the middle of this.
Oh, it was so good.
And what was A-Rod doing? Like, what did those meetings go like? Because I've been making fun for years with Guillermo of the idea that every once in a while when A-Rod wants to meet, I get a text. That's where Beeple was born. I get a text from some guy named Beeple telling me, hey, A-Rod wants to meet. It's like a labyrinth of celebrity J-Lo stuff.
Yeah, so I would just get the text directly from A-Rod, which because at that time he wanted the team. Ironically, now that he's with J-Lo, who I also knew through Mark, obviously.
Mark Anthony.
Yeah, my phone is much quieter now. Isn't that interesting?
Who was the pitcher? You told us a couple weeks ago in 2008 that you guys almost got a pitcher at the trade deadline, but you wouldn't say who it was for whatever reason.
Well, I'd just like to go through names that you guys were close to getting. Like, what are some of the things that would excite Marlins fans in retrospect? Because now it could be told the Marlins were close to trading so-and-so for so-and-so.
We almost traded Jose Fernandez for Patrick Corbin, who just signed a 6-year, $143 million deal with the Nationals. And we would have also gotten Brandon Drury, who was traded to the Yankees, I think, this past offseason. That was a blockbuster trade. We had Jose traded. That would have been a great trade.
What happened, though?
The owner of the Diamondbacks, a guy named Ken Kendrick, would not take Jose.
Because?
He liked his own players. A.J. Pollock, you know who that is?
I've heard the name.
You've heard the name. Yeah, he's a free agent, too, a very good player. I mean, it would have been a blockbuster trade, and it was a trade we couldn't refuse as much as we loved Jose.
Was there anyone on the other side, though, that we almost got? Not people that were almost traded, that the Marlins almost got?
Yeah, where conversations got deep. You mentioned Pujols. Conversations got deep on somebody, whatever it is, whether it's an A-Rod type or Barry Bonds type, even though you've said those conversations never went anywhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about trades that we tried to do over the years and that just don't happen. There's so many. We put so many names on the board that you try to get. We definitely tried to get Manny Ramirez many times, including during the offseason. The Marlins almost got Eric Gagne. I don't know if you remember that name.
Yes.
This was before
Speaking
we
of
knew he
steroids.
was a steroid guy.
Mm-hmm.
We had Milton Bradley traded for Eric Gagne. The trade was done, and Eric Gagne was basically a number 5 starter. And I think the Dodgers knew that he was about to go on steroids because all of a sudden he was great.
We've got 5 minutes left. I want to go through questions as fast as we can because we want to get to as much as we can. 5 minutes left here.
Why didn't you honor Bobby Cox, his final game against the Marlins?
Because Why would we?
Well, the reports were it was because of comments that he made about Jeffrey Lurie and the firing of Freddie Gonzalez.
No, there was no reason. He was always, he's always been nice enough, but he was vociferous in his criticism of how he handled Freddie, just like Stan Van Gundy was, and it is what it is. What are we going to do, give him a parade?
What's the angriest you and or Jeffrey have ever been with a player?
I've gotten very angry with players who don't do what they say they're going to do. If they're going to blow off community events, but I'm honest with them. I was very angry with Ricky Nolasco. I caught Ricky Nolasco eating pizza at 3 a.m. the night before his start, and I was there and he was there, and he tried to run away from me so I wouldn't see him. I see our starting pitcher the next day in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, running away like a 5-year-old away from his father. And I'm like, what, Ricky, go to bed. And he got shellacked by the Brewers the next day. And I went up to him. I said, you know what? You have 4 nights to go out, and you go out and get hammered the night before you're pitching, and you try to run away like I'm not going to see you. We were the only people hammered in the pizza place at 3 a.m. I walk in, and you run away like I'm not going to see you.
I love that. David Samson with us in studio, former Marlins team president. You've been honest the entire hour, so thank you. Opinion of Rob Manfred.
I helped him. I always wanted him to be commissioner. He's great. He's going to be, when you look back on this, he'll be probably the best commissioner baseball's ever had, because he understands you don't need 30 votes to get something done. You only need 23. And unlike Commissioner Seelig, who wanted to get everyone to love him, Rob doesn't care. He doesn't want to be loved. He wants to be effective.
Do you think the interview...
Except on your radio show.
Do you think the interview he did with our show is the single worst interview ever done by a commissioner?
It was the single worst job by a commissioner in an interview in history, actually.
Yeah, you're not even joking, right?
No, I'm not joking.
You were cringing. You were listening and cringing, right?
I felt so badly that he agreed to go on with you. He should never have agreed to that interview, ever, no matter how much you were baiting him.
What did guys like Conine and the other luminaries actually think of how Jeter handled their departure from the
luminaries.
The luminaries.
They thought it was pathetic. I mean, he fired them all, which is his choice, but then he tried to get them all back like at $25,000, which, it's embarrassing. That's Tony Perez and Andre Dawson. That's 2 Hall of Famers, and that's Mr. Marlin and Jack McKeon. And Jack didn't even show up for the reunion, right? Because Jack didn't come back for the 20th anniversary because he doesn't want to be a part of it. He's made to not feel a part of it because Jeter wants to have nothing to do with anything that happened in the past.
Looking back over all the years that you guys ran the team, is there anything that you guys think that you could have done differently to make this work?
Yeah, we could have had a ballpark in a different location possibly. We could have tried to do a deal maybe around Dolphin Stadium. Maybe that would have helped. To the extent that it's the location that's hurting right now, but we don't know. It's either
the location takes out Fort Lauderdale for you and Palm Beach. They're not available. That location is particularly bad for that reason because it ain't like a whole lot of people from the Keys are coming down.
No, it's coming up. No, it's definitely an issue.
David, we appreciate the time. Mike, you got one more?
Yeah, 30 seconds. Did Ozzie Guillen ever really get it?
Get what? The fact that we
what he
fired
said
him because of Fidel Castro? No, he never understood. And we made him go on the apology tour with the white, the nuns in white?
Yes.
And we made him do all those things, and he never realized. He thought he said nothing wrong.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah,
so David, we got to do this again because I've got 100 more questions. Stugotz is wants
I
to
will
do this.
never
You
drive
will never
down here
make
for
the
this
commute
hour.
again.
No,
Okay.
no.
All right. Very good.